Welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere, where CEOs, leaders, and experts at building teams,
companies,
organizations,
and amazing cultures share how to lead from anywhere in the world. I'm your co-host on the East Coast, Ginny Bianco Mathis.
And I'm your co-host on the West Coast, Mitch Simon. And we invite you to join us to Team Anywhere. Here's my favorite quote from Michael Peachey, Vice President of User Design at RingCentral. The rules have changed. What used to work for you as an employee, as a manager, or as an organization isn't going to work anymore. What I appreciate about Michael is that he's a designer, and great designers begin by fully appreciating reality. On today's podcast, we're going to explore the rules that change in your new responsibilities as an organization, a team leader, a hybrid team member who spends their time mostly in the office, and a hybrid team member who spends most of the time at home. If you're remote or if you're on a hybrid team in the office, you need to go out of your way to connect to your team. It's always been an obligation. It's now more crucial for you to take on that responsibility so that you can thrive as you team anywhere. Hello and welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere. I am your co-host, Mitch Simon, on the West Coast, and I've got our lovely co-hosts on the East Coast, Dr. Virginia Bianco Mathis. Today on the podcast, we have Michael Peachey, Vice President of User Experience at RingCentral. We're excited to have him on the podcast because he's been at the forefront of human-centered design, especially looking at how teams collaborate from anywhere. Michael, welcome.
Welcome. Glad to be here. Nice to meet you, Jenny.
Yeah, greetings.
Great to have you here. So first question we've been asking all of our guests is, so during the last year, what did you learn about yourself personally, and what has surprised you the most about yourself?
That's actually a really easy one. I will admit it here. I'll be a little vulnerable. Before the pandemic, I was everybody's got to be here. Collaboration in person is super important. You know, we would talk to candidates when we'd hire them. We'd say, look, this is a 5-day-in-the-week job. You know, you got to be in the office. You got to work with the product managers, the other designers. Like we're all going to be here. Like I was that guy. And then one day, Tuesday in March, everybody got sent home to go work for the next 16 months. And it was a remarkable success for this global team. We've got about 100 people all over the world, and now they've been spreading out from wherever they used to live to other places, and it has worked very, very smoothly. So that was my big learning. That was the big surprise. I'll admit it, I was wrong.
You know, that is, I appreciate your vulnerability because you run a company which is committed to creating tools for people to not work from their desks. How's that going, Michael?
It's the pandemic has been a real burden for a lot of people all over the world. You know, for us, it's really accelerated the work that we've had to do and the importance of the work. So, you know, we're grateful for that opportunity to serve and to really focus on what we're doing. And with that momentum and that motivation that we all feel, you know, it's been going great.
That's great. No, thank you for that honesty. There's a lot of managers out there who felt the same way. And actually, Michael, there's still a lot of managers out there who feel the same way, which is, okay, pandemic's over, quote unquote. We're all going back in the office and we're going to pretend nothing ever happened.
Right,
Yep.
right.
I've heard that.
Yeah, we're not going to go.
And there's something there around, I don't know, the unexamined life.
Yes.
Yeah, there are a number of companies out there that you know, that have announced, you know, everybody's coming back to the office. If you want to keep your job, you gotta come back in. You know, banks in New York, manufacturing companies, people all over the place. And I've got to say, from talking to our customers and from our perspective, you know, there is no going back. And December 2019 is gone. It's in the rearview mirror. We've got to look forward. And in the future is this hybrid workspace where some people on the team are going to be in the office and some people are going to be remote. And from where we sit, that's a much, much bigger challenge than the work from home was 16 months ago, back in March 2020.
Right.
Right, which leads me
Exactly.
to my next question, because it's because of guys like you, who have built products. So actually, I was going to the internet to look at an ad that RingCentral had in 2019. RingCentral had products to support people actually working from home almost for forever. What I want to ask then is why are these collaboration tools so? I mean, they were important back then, but why are they so important right now?
I think that what's really changed in terms of how RingCentral looks at our products, in December 2019, what we mostly pictured and what we were mostly designing for were people who were collaborating at a distance, but really from the office in Brisbane, California to the office in Chicago, or the office in Chicago to the office in Paris. It was very much about that kind of work collaboration between you and your customers that might be someplace else. But a lot of the products were about how those two offices collaborated or individuals in those offices collaborated. And it was less about what happens when everybody's all by themselves collaborating into some sort of central location. So that's changed a lot of how we think, how we design, how we serve our customers.
Okay, great. Well, we wanted to really take a human-centered design approach. We had one guest who talked a lot about Hannah Burson, who talked a lot about human-centered design, and I was so excited when we were introduced to you. So, can you help our audience not just get through hybrid, but actually thrive through having us get like an insight in how you look at these current problems, and how does your team get their ideas on how to look at the current situation and how to solve the current problems, such that we can get a better appreciation of what types of tools we should be looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got the blessing of access to a lot of customers and a lot of people who are trying to solve these problems, and there is no playbook. It's not like there's you could go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble and get a book on how to thrive in hybrid. So there's a lot of experimenting, a lot of making it up as everybody goes along. And clearly we're tracking all those various experiments. We think about how we connect when you talk about that human-centered design on three levels. We serve three broad audiences. There's organizations, right? Like, Mary's Widget Co. is competing against Bob's Widget Co. out there. And we obviously want our customers to outcompete their competitors. So how does an organization thrive in a world of hybrid? So we spend a lot of time talking to business owners. The next piece are leaders. There are team leaders out there that are all trying to be successful. They're all trying to run their teams and deliver the best they can and be competitive in their company environment, get the promotion and thrive. And then the third one are the individuals who are competing. Everybody's trying to do well in their career. They're trying to grow. And this hybrid space, this work from anywhere, it's a challenge because it's difficult for people to build relationships when you're not in the office. And this is particularly true for a lot of the new entrants into the job market. They've got to, it's hard enough to be new in the job market. Now doing it from your living room.
Right. So why don't we take a bottoms up approach then? And if you could share with us, bottoms up, I mean by instead of organization, team leader, individual, let's start from individual. What advice would you give an individual? And I wanted to break it up into two ways. So there's the individual who's on a hybrid team who's most of the time not in the office. Mm-hmm. And then there's the individual on the hybrid team who's most of the time in the office. So why don't we start with the furthest out? Mm-hmm. What type of insights and advice would you give that person who is really disconnected physically from the office?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So the main thing that I think everybody knows, but it's worth saying, is that in a work environment, most people don't get stuff done all by themselves. Sure, a novelist like Stephen King can go to a cabin in the woods with a manual typewriter and bang out a novel in a month, but most of us have to work with other people. That collaboration is important in getting stuff done. What's really interesting in our research is we look at individuals, and it's not surprising when you say it out loud, nobody wants to do meetings. Nobody even really wants to collaborate. They want to get stuff done. And probably the best way to do that is communicating with other people. The thing that people are really hungry for is that social and emotional connection. So when you're the one who's remote, let's start farthest away. I really want you to think about, how are you nurturing yourself? How are you nurturing your relationships with the other remote people? And then importantly, with your team that's going to be in the office. So if you're remote, you're staying home to take care of a parent or a child, or you just live too far away from the office, or you just want to take advantage of the fact that you don't want to commute. You've really got to work hard to build those relationships, because you need the information that comes back and forth. But even more importantly is you need that social nurturing, that emotional nurturing. One of the things that a lot of people have learned, and we've seen this in the research that we've done, is the importance of those work relationships. Before the pandemic, I don't think a lot of people were walking around saying, I am so grateful for the work relationships that I've got.
Not
Like,
at all.
I love the people that I work with. I need them to thrive. What people learned is, oh my goodness, I really actually do need those people that I work with. They're an important part of my social and emotional system. So build those relationships when you're remote. Specifically, like, be on time to meetings, turn on your camera. Make sure you say hi to people when they come into the room. Stay engaged. Don't get talked over by the people who are on site. Be there, contribute, be present. In RingCentral's world, we believe very much in the integration of communications. So our applications take your messaging, right, the texts that you send back and forth to people that are asynchronous, right? Like, I send you a message. We're setting up this podcast, right? Like, here's something, and then you reply when you feel like it, and I reply when I feel like it. And we do that asynchronous communication. But at some point, we decided, hey, wait, we need to actually talk in real time, in person, right? So Mitch, you and I were able to jump into a video chat to set up for this. And then after that video chat, we went back to the messaging, right? You sent me a list of questions. I responded, said I was excited, right? In and out of those things is really important for the remote people, to make sure that you're using all of your channels.
Okay, I want to share something that you just said, which was really controversial, and I love it. Because what we're hearing is this. What we're hearing is, you know what, employer, I want to work at home, and I'm going to work at home, and you're going to take care of me at home. But what you're saying, Michael, or what I'm hearing you say is, you know what? So remote employee, you work for a great company that's going to let you be remote. But here's the deal, remote employee, you probably need to work harder to make those connections. You have a higher responsibility than the guy or the gal who's actually going to come to the office a lot. Is that what you're saying?
Actually, everybody's got a higher responsibility.
Yeah,
when we start talking about the leaders, when we start talking about the people who are in the office, they've got some new responsibilities too, because the rules have changed.
Mm-hmm.
What used to work for you as an employee or as a manager or as an organization isn't going to work anymore. So you mentioned those organizations that are saying everybody's coming back. There are organizations out there saying that, hey, if you moved out of town to a place where it's cheaper, I'm not going to pay you as much. I'm not going to pay you your New York salary if you're living in Tulsa, because it's cheaper there. It's not fair somehow. I'll tell you that every time I hear about one of those companies, what I want to do is go short their stock and buy up their competitors, because I do not believe are going to thrive, because people have a choice. The bell's been rung. So the promise of this hybrid is that if I want to live in the mountains because my kids ski at a top tier level, I've got one of my designers. He's got 2 boys on the national team. Remote hit. They went last summer to Mount Hood and lived on Mount Hood so the 2 boys could ski all day. Right? He's not going to go work for a company that says you must be in the office anymore, because he's tasted it and it works for him. So a great designer like that is going to be available to a firm that's figured out how to do hybrid. They're going to get better employees, and they're going to outcompete their peers.
And that's what I think. I'm sorry.
What I would say is, one of the things I'm hearing you as a designer, as a designer, and I'm not a designer. Maybe I am, in my spare time. But what you do is it seems like you actually appreciate reality and you design from that. Whereas I think a lot of these companies that you're going to be shorting are not appreciating reality and are designing from 2014.
Exactly. Right. And these companies that are saying you have to be back in your seats, who are they going to be hiring next?
They have a more
Right?
limited
And
pool to hire from
right.
if they're only looking at people who are going to be back in their seats. It's the same challenge is why diversity is important in an organization. If you only hire people that look and talk like you do, you're missing out on talent that's out there. And, again, diversity, work from anywhere, there's a social justice piece to that. But for me, the more important piece is the economic advantage that's out there, because that is what I think is going to drive organizations to eventually realize that they've got to do the right thing. Because if they don't, they're not going to be the haves. They're going to be the have-nots.
Yeah, great stuff. So what I'm understanding is like we're really talking about the new rules for remote. And I think one of the new rules for that individual who's, in the log cabin on Mount Hood skiing in July, what a lucky person. I didn't say that word. Is that he or she must really make much more of an effort to connect to the rest of the company. So let's go next to what would be the new rules for remote. You're on a hybrid team, and you are one of those people who has chosen to be in the office a lot.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen that. Again, surprisingly, once things started opening up, we've seen people in our customers. I've seen it on my own team. There are people who can't wait to get back into the office. They're tired of working at the kitchen table. They're tired of the leaf blowers. They can't concentrate there. It doesn't work for everybody. So I've got people, as soon as we started the return to work pilot, we're like, me, pick me, so that they could come into the office and work. So they're all here in the office, that group. So now let's just take a hypothetical team of 8 designers that are working on a project, working on our video conferencing product or something. We got 4 in the office, we got 4 at home. How do the 4 in the office be more successful? And the main answer to that is they need to figure out how they are a team of 8 and they're a player on a team of 8, not just on a team of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether it's design or accounting or marketing or finance or operations or whatever, you're not as smart by yourself as you are with a group of people. And the broader that group of people, the smarter you're going to be, the more you're going to thrive, the more likely you're going to be the one that learns something new that gets on the good project. So the people in the building need to be really active and intentional in how they include the people who are remote.
And they'll
win.
Can you give us some suggestions there? Because I'm sure Ginny and maybe Michael, I know I remember reading the Harvard Business Review article that basically said, I think it was maybe 16 feet or something, or 60 feet, that if you were not within 60 feet from a coworker, it was almost as if that person at like 65, 70 feet could have been in in Madagascar. So what are some of the things that, Michael, that you would suggest to hybrid team members who are on that, in that group of 4 that's at the office to really connect to the entirety of the group of 8?
Mm-hmm. So, like the people who are remote need to be intentional and put some effort into being connected, the people who are on site need to do the same thing. And they need to work hard to not become an island of 4. So if you're going to have a meeting and a discussion with people, you need to have the setup and the creation of the agenda and why are we having this meeting in the messaging. Okay. Because the person at home can go feed the cat and come back and read the message, or they can go feed the baby and come back and deal with the message. They're going to understand what the meeting's about. You're going to negotiate an agenda amongst the 8 of you that everybody's on board and engaged with. Then when you have the meeting, you in the office, don't stand there with your back to the camera and the speakerphone with your 3 buddies writing on the whiteboard. Right? Sit down at the table in front of your laptop in the same video meeting that everybody else is in.
Exactly.
Don't use the whiteboard. Use a product like Miro. that allows you to collaborate remotely where everybody's on a level playing field. And then the number one thing is when the meeting's over, right? Big hand gets up to the 12. Everybody says, okay, great. The meeting was good. Don't have more meeting. Right? That's the dangerous part. When the four of you in the office then go off down your own path and nobody else is
There
involved.
you go.
Follow up using the messaging so that everybody's part of it. So yeah, you got responsibilities even if you're on site. You don't get to coast.
Okay, so let's get to the we go up the scale. Now I got a team leader. I'm the team leader, and I'm let's say I'm Mr. or Mrs. 9. I got my 4 peeps at work, and I got my 4 peeps at Mount Hood or Mount whatever. What advice would you give that leader?
I would say the number one thing to be thinking about is how do I get 100% out of all 8 people? Because, and again, to put things in sort of very Darwinian terms, that leader of that team, she's competing against all the other leaders in the organization running similar teams for the next promotion, to get on the big Smith project or whatever it is that people are trying to do in an organization to grow and advance. And if she is getting 100 out of all of her people, she's got a team that's firing on all cylinders versus somebody else who's only getting 50% out of their remote people because they're coming into the meetings late. They got their camera off. They're multitasking. They just put it on mute and they're washing their laundry or something. Right? Those leaders need to get the most out of their teams. And how do you do that? It's about the connecting. So, we use these words collaborate and connect. And they're not the same thing. And I want to tease them apart for the audience a little bit, because I will say something a little controversial, which is collaboration doesn't matter. Connecting matters. If you connect, you will automatically collaborate. And if you're collaborating, you're going to get stuff done. So don't worry about getting stuff done. The world of I need to see everybody and make sure they're all busy doing stuff, which is about activity, not outcomes, is turned into a world about outcomes. And I'll tell my team, if you got a magic leprechaun that lives under your desk and does your job for you all day long, I don't care. As long as you're delivering the outcomes, feed the leprechaun, take care of them. That's really good. So what are those outcomes there? If you're connecting as a leader with your team, hi, Jenny, it's really good to see you. I'm glad you're here in the meeting. Right? Watch your little Brady Bunch set of squares while you're in the meeting. And 9's a perfect number, right? You got a 3x3 grid.
That's right. All teams. So this is Michael's advice. All teams need to be 9.
I love it.
Yeah. 9 or 16 or something that divides evenly into a rectangle. So our team leader is watching her team there, and she sees that somebody remote is not contributing. Reach out, draw them into the conversation. What are their ideas? Because just like in the real world, when everybody was together, some people are super comfortable launching into the conversation, interrupting each other, and they tend to be white middle-aged men. And some people are not as comfortable, but they've got the ideas. If our leader can draw those ideas out, particularly from the remote people, and get them engaged in the conversation by noticing that they're not, now they're more effective. If that leader can give her team the right tools to collaborate so that they're able to do that, connecting with each other, they're going to do well.
So just to tease that out a little bit, and I love the controversial statement, collaboration doesn't matter, and you still didn't get fired. I like that.
Yeah.
But connection matters. I guess what you're saying is in a team meeting, let's say in the team meeting of the Brady Bunch, the leader is just really particularly focused on people's interests, people's contribution.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that the leader should be paying particular interest to, such that he or she is building connectivity?
So making sure everybody's engaged, communicating with them, making sure they've got the right tools and that they're using those tools well, looking to see if you're not getting your most out of somebody, or if somebody else is stepping on it. And it doesn't have to be only the leaders. So we've got a best practice that we've started that I actually stole from one of my kids' middle school teachers. When we have a meeting where there are people who are on site and people who are remote, particularly a larger one where there might be a dozen people, 15 people in that conversation, uh, we have a specific person on the team who's on site, whose job it is in that meeting to make sure that the remote people are engaged. So she's the one that's watching the screen and seeing somebody going, and it's like, James, you've got something to add. She can interrupt that kind of high bandwidth, high excitement, real time conversation that's happening in the room and advocate for the people who are remote. And with that, what we've learned is that keeps the people engaged, the remote ones engaged. If you're going to get asked a question, you're going to stay engaged. You're not going to be reading your email. If you know that your input is valued, you're going to stay engaged. You're going to participate. And then everybody's there and you get the maximum value.
Yeah, I love that. I know that we've had John Chen on, and he really talked about utilizing really simple tools just to make sure that people are contributing. One of his was to change someone's name every time they say something. So if your name is Michael, and then Michael says something, now it's Michael Star or Michael 2 stars, as well as to really connect is to always have questions. So your team knows that pretty much every minute or two, a question's coming. You better be ready for it. I love that. Okay, great. So next, let's go highest up in the org. In the org. I don't know what the org is, but I would love to get your advice on what should the org, those space aliens who run the company, what should they be considering or experimenting with to really appreciate and get leverage in this new world of hybrid.
Sure. So a couple of thoughts there. First off, the organization might be a team or a division inside a larger company, or it might be a whole small business is the org. A couple of thoughts on there. One is make sure that your teams have got the tools that they need. Don't just let people haphazardly figure, okay, we're going to use this and we're going to use that and we're not going to use anything and we're going to make everybody come on site. They've got to have the tools. There are a lot of great tools out there. I'm a particular fan of the ones we've been designing, especially in that seamless way that you can move from messaging to phone to video to a screen share. Really helps with a lot of that collaboration. The other thing that we've seen in our research is the idea of these champions of connected culture. So RingCentral did a study across a bunch of our customers, talking to organizations and the people who work there and trying to understand who's engaged and who's not. It's self-reported by employees. And employees are pretty good at telling you, like, yeah, I'm just not that engaged, or like, yeah, I'm super fired up. What we saw is that organizations that had these connected cultures, the employees in those organizations self-reported being more engaged, more productive, getting more done, being happier than the organizations that didn't have cultures that were described as connected, where the people were able to connect. So we dug a little deeper and said, well, how do you become a connected culture? Is that just, magic or a roll of the dice? What we saw, this theme running across these connected organizations, that there were individuals in there who took it upon themselves back in the spring of 2020 to become these champions of connected culture. These were the people on the team who said, we need a happy hour on Friday afternoon. These are the people that would go and bring people into the conversation, whether it was their job or not. The ones that had those strong soft skills, we've always known the soft skills are important. I think the pandemic really showed us that they matter a lot. So from an organization standpoint, if you're the VP, you're the CEO, look in your organization and see who's doing that connected culture kind of stuff and elevate them, recognize them, celebrate what they're doing, because when you, the leader, pay attention to that, everybody else is. And it's nature, right? The CEO says, this team's doing really good. I really like what Martha's been doing with X, Y, and Z. A bunch of other people are going to go, I'd like the CEO to say that about me. I'm going to go copy what Martha's doing. And now everybody starts to lift up a little bit. And you as the CEO, your company's now going to win.
Great. I love the fact that you use Martha because it's such a popular name these days. Okay, so it's Friday. We should do all of our tapings on Friday.
That's right. Lily is another good one.
Lily's a good name too. Lily was the CEO.
So I want to, before we close, which will be we're getting to the end, is okay. You've got to share with us some of your favorite features of RingCentral, because when I met you, I heard that you have my favorite feature, which is breakout rooms. Like if it were not for breakout rooms and Zoom, I would be on the street right now. But I've built my whole business on breakout rooms, and I haven't seen any other product have breakout rooms. So does RingCentral have breakout rooms? And also, are there any other favorite features that you love about RingCentral?
Sure. So first, to reassure you, we've got breakout rooms. They're in customer beta now, and they will launch to RingCentral customers in early September. So a little bit of a ways away.
Okay.
A couple more weeks, you got to wait. But we wanted to make sure that it was good and that it worked, that they would be a way to facilitate connection, not just a feature in the product. Great. So breakout rooms, big fan. I would have to say my two favorite features in the product. One we launched at the beginning of the pandemic, and the other has been launched more recently. The one at the beginning of the pandemic is the ability to move a meeting from any one of my devices to any one of my other devices with a tap. So when I'm sitting at my desk at home, and I told you I'm in the office today because they're jackhammering the street. The jackhammering starts, and oh no, I got to go. I'm going to go out to the back deck. Right? I can pick up my phone, open up the RingCentral app, and there's a little banner in there that says, "Do you want to move your meeting to this device?" No passwords, no sign in, no URLs, nothing. I am just in that meeting on my phone. Nobody else even knows that I changed.
Nice.
Or I start the meeting in my car. I go and I sit down at my desk and I do the same thing. Pop, meeting's right there on my desktop. I'm using my headphones, my microphone, smooth and seamless. But my favorite one is the huddle room.
Okay, tell us about that.
Huddle room recreates the best part of being together in the office. So when you're in the office and you got a team of people you're working with, and for us in the design team, we got our little war rooms and design studios, and people go in there and do stuff. And you're going to go get your second cup of coffee, and you walk by one of these rooms, you see three people in there talking about something, and you're on the same team, the same project. Wonder what they're talking about. And you can stop in and say hi and go like, that's really interesting. I got some thoughts on that. Or, no, I'm not really interested in what you're doing, and go about your life. Or even just seeing those people in there doing stuff, you see some activity. What if in your messaging app, when you have all your little teams, I got, the Smith project team, and I got the plan the offsite team, whatever they are. Anytime any group of people that are in that team want to get together and talk about something, they don't schedule a meeting. They don't send out an invite link. They just push a button and they're in a meeting. Wow. So the two of us are chit-chatting. I'm like, you know what, Mitch, let's talk about that together. And then Virginia comes by. She sees that we're in there and go, I wonder what Mitch and Michael are talking about. And she can just drop in real time. No friction, no muss, no fuss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's so cool, because that really can equalize the four people at work and the four people on Mount Hood.
That is fabulous.
So you've nailed it, right? So when my three people are in the office are going to get together and do something, our best practice is don't go into the room, go into the huddle room, because then somebody else can join you.
It's almost like the leader who always says, well, I have an open door policy. Well, if you did, then tell us what's going on in there. I like that.
If I'm in 100 teams, I've got 100 open doors.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Before we close, I just have this inkling, and I haven't scourged the internet, but do you have any unique hobbies?
Well, I got 4 kids, so that's a unique hobby.
That's unique.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that the thing that I do outside of work the most is kite surfing out here in the Bay Area.
Oh, do you?
Amazing wind and amazing spots out on the bay. So from beginning of April to the end of October, I'm kite surfing on the bay. And then now that we can travel again this winter, I'll be going down to Mexico and kite surfing down there. So that's probably my favorite.
Oh, that is.
And there was some passion.
And I have been so unusually quiet the whole time, because I'm just sitting here absorbing.
Yeah.
Just learning. Thank you. This has been incredible.
It's been great. Michael, this has been really great. Thank the gods who brought you to us. Okay, how can our listeners find you and get into your huddle room?
Well, you can get into the huddle room by going to ringcentral.com and getting yourself some free product. If you want some of the additional features, you can always pay for it, which is, that's nice too. My kids appreciate that. But we've got free unlimited meetings and messaging products for anybody that's out there. We've been doing that ever since COVID started. If you want to find me, I'm on LinkedIn, Michael Peachey, Peachey. And drop me a note, connect, let me know what your thoughts are. Got to realize every thought I've got in my head that I've shared with you started out in somebody else's brain once. So the more we connect, the better we all do.
Great. Well, Michael, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I really want to title this, the new rules for remote, because you really have given us some insight there. Gotta love designers, right, Ginny? They just think differently. God, love it. All right. So I think we've had a good time today. We want to thank you, Michael. We want to thank you, Ginny. We want to thank our listeners. And if you've loved this episode, which is, I think, one of our best, absolutely, please share this. Please give us some reviews about this episode. Share this with your friends and colleagues. And we'll see you next time on our next episode of Team Anywhere.